for this one.
Hello,
and let's have a look at what the Racing Post Spotlight verdict makes of this. Reads as follows. The Nicky Henderson train created in Daisy did not finish an article. Well, that's a non-run, and that was the selection. And the form of Honky Tonk Highway's debut win in Irish Mare's maiden point has received a firm boost from the runner-up, and she's second choice on her first start for Dan Self-Skelton. So as I say, Crazier Than Daisy, a non-runner. So Honky Tonk Highway, therefore, the selection. Just Call Me Lucy was very impressive at Carlisle, while Magical Annie could leave her Doncaster run well behind, now in a hood and a tongue tie. Honky Tonk Highway then making its rules debut for Dan Skelton. Harry Skelton on board. We'll be back with betting and commentary for that mare's bumper coming up at 3 o'clock.
Highway has
Air 233, first number 2 Salamanca Bay, 7-4 favourite. Second number 1 Dreams of Home at 16-5. Non-runner number 5 Foran.
Unraced next.
Yes, Salamanca Bay running out an effortless winner really in that handicap chase, giving Lucinda Russell and Derek Fox a double on the card. Prior to that, over at Sandown, we had a thrilling finish to the Imperial Cup. It was won in the last stride by Go Dante, who just floored Favour on the line there. We're heading back to Sandown Park next. 3 o'clock is next on their card, and it's a mare's bumper, this one. Valuable contest over the 2-mile trip. We've got one non-runner, number 3, Crazier Than Daisy, and leaves us with a field of 11 there for this one. And let's have a look at what the Racing Post Spotlight verdict makes of this. Reads as follows. The Nicky Henderson train created in Daisy did not finish an article. Well, that's a non-runner, and that was the selection. And the form of Honky Tonk Highway's debut win in Irish Mare's maiden point has received a firm boost from the runner-up, and she's second choice on her first start for Dan Self-Skelton. So as I say, Crazier Than Daisy, a non-runner. So Honky Tonk Highway, therefore, the selection. Just Call Me Lucy was very impressive at Carlisle, while Magical Annie could leave her Doncaster run well behind, now in a hood and a tongue tie. Honky Tonk Highway then making its rules debut for Dan Skelton. Harry Skelton on board. We'll be back with betting and commentary for that mare's bumper coming up at 3 o'clock. Air 233, first number 2 Salamanca Bay, 7-4 favourite. Second number 1 Dreams of Home at 16-5. Non-runner number 5 Foran.
It has run in a point-to-point.
Yes, Salamanca Bay running out an effortless winner really in that handicap chase, giving Lucinda Russell and Derek Fox a double on the card. Prior to that, over at Sandown, we had a thrilling finish to the Imperial Cup. It was won in the last stride by Go Dante, who just floored Favour on the line there. We're heading back to Sandown Park next. 3 o'clock is next on their card, and it's a mare's bumper, this one. Valuable contest over the 2-mile trip. We've got one non-runner, number 3, Crazier Than Daisy, and leaves us with a field of 11 there for this one. And let's have a look at what the Racing Post Spotlight verdict makes of this. Reads as follows. The Nicky Henderson train created in Daisy did not finish an article. Well, that's a non-runner, and that was the selection. And the form of Honky Tonk Highway's debut win in Irish Mare's maiden point has received a firm boost from the runner-up, and she's second choice on her first start for Dan Self-Skelton. So as I say, Crazier Than Daisy, a non-runner. So Honky Tonk Highway, therefore, the selection. Just Call Me Lucy was very impressive at Carlisle, while Magical Annie could leave her Doncaster run well behind, now in a hood and a tongue tie. Honky Tonk Highway then making its rules debut for Dan Skelton. Harry Skelton on board. We'll be back with betting and commentary for that mare's bumper coming up at 3 o'clock.
So it'll be £9.
Yeah, welcome back. The runners assembled at the start. Don't think it'll be too long before we're underway here. This race listed contest for mares. And Honky Tonk Highway on her debut is 11-4 favourite. Won her only started an Irish point-to-point and fetched a lot of money as a result. 7-2 Just Call Me Lucy. That's got winning form last time out. Finished 4th behind Sunset Marquesa at Aintree on her debut, but then followed up with an impressive win next time. And it's 7-2 here, quite nicely backed. 6-1 I've made up my mind. For Ben Pauling and Ben Jones, they're looking for a double. That was runner-up on its only start so far. Just gone 5-1 now. I've made up my mind. 7-1 Bella's Bridge. A little bit of support for Jamie Snowden's runner, who's also a winning point-to-pointer. Gavin Sheehan rides that one. At 7-1 at Sunset Marquez, as I mentioned, beat Just Call Me Lucy at Aintree. Then
so let's go
it's 11-1 for Magical Annie.
For this race.
That was quite a big drifter out from 8-1. And it's
And I'll leave
12-1 My Louise. A little bit of support for that. Ruler Bula 14-1, 22-1 bar. Starters calling them in. So getting ready for action. They're a fraction shorter than 2 miles in front of them. 4 yards short of 2 miles. They're lining up. 3-1 favourite Honky Tonk Highway. Has touched 11-4 now, back to his opening price. Just Call Me Lucy at 4. 9-2, I've made up my mind now. A little late money for that. As there is for Bella's Bridge, 13-2. 15-2 bar, and they're off and racing. For this British Stallions Studs EBF Mares Standard Open National Hunt Flat Race. This listed contest, and the first one to show to the inside is Bella's Bridge leading the way to I've Made Up My Mind in second place. On that one's outside race is My Louise. There on the rails is Sunset Marquez in the early stages. That's being followed closely by Honky Tonk Highway, who's got Ruler Bula for company. Back marker as they come up towards the winning post for the first time is Plantaroma. But leading the way, Bella's Bridge from I've Made Up My Mind. To the outside then comes My Louise, the leading trio. Followed by Honky Tonk Highway in company with Sunset Marquesa. Then behind these comes Ruler Bula. That's just in front of Just Call Me Lucy. Then against the rails is Magical Annie. Magical Annie followed towards the outer by Cali Black. And the back pair at this stage as they head on towards the back straight are The Secret Pearl and finally Plantaroma. But it's Bella's Bridge who cuts it at the running under Gavin Sheehan. Leads by a length and a half to I've Made Up My Mind in second. That's a length in front of My Louise, who's just ahead that one of Sunset Marquesa. Then Honky Tonk Highway on her rules debut. That's followed by Ruler Bula. On that one's inside comes Magical Annie. They're being followed then by Just Call Me Lucy. Wide of Just Call Me Lucy, just improving a touch, Cali Black. And then The Secret Pearl and finally Plantaroma. Stretching out to about 10 lengths down the far side here, coming up towards the halfway stage. And leading the way still Bella's Bridge, about 3 parts of a length in front of I've Made Up My Mind. That's followed a length further back by My Louise, who's disputing third now with Sunset Marquesa. Between those two is Honky Tonk Highway. Then Ruler Bula, followed by Just Call Me Lucy and Magical Annie. And still towards the rear of the field, Cali Black, in company with The Secret Pearl and finally Plantaroma. Pace maybe just steadying a touch as they gear themselves up for a charge out of the back straight here. It is still Bella's Bridge who leads, but almost joining her now is I've Made Up My Mind, who's quite keen to get on with things, that one. Then third to the outside, My Louise from Honky Tonk Highway, moves well. On the rails is Sunset Marquesa, and they're followed by Ruler Bula. Now beginning to increase the tempo again as they come towards the end of the back straight. I've Made Up My Mind on the outside of Bella's Bridge, not much between them. A length away is My Louise, closely followed on the inside by Sunset Marquesa. Then Honky Tonk Highway, and these trapped by Ruler Bula in company with Magical Annie. So starting to wind in towards the home straight then. Bella's Bridge moves on again by a half length to I've Made Up My Mind, both going nicely, but they're stacking up in behind. Honky Tonk Highway is now angling for a run towards the stand side, pushed along My Louise. Ruler Bula makes quite good ground towards the stand side. They're heading down towards the final quarter mile. I've Made Up My Mind on the outside of Bella's Bridge. Ben Jones hasn't moved yet on I've Made Up My Mind. Here comes Ruler Bula looking a threat under John Joe Neal Jr. Honky Tonk Highway being driven in between them. And these four have now kicked on from Sunset Marquesa, but they're down towards the final furlong. Bella's Bridge determined on the inside. Here's Ruler Bula to the outside. Between them then comes Honky Tonk Highway. Then it's I've Made Up My Mind, who's not found a great deal as yet. Staying on under pressure, Sunset Marquesa, but Ruler Bula pressing Honky Tonk Highway as they head now inside the final furlong. Honky Tonk Highway got a half-length lead to Rula Bula, staying on all the time. In third is Sunset Marquesa, but Honky Tonk Highway now driven out by Harry Skelton, goes a length and a half clear. Honky Tonk Highway scores from Rula Bula, and in third, Sunset Marquesa.
So there we go then. That was the 3 o'clock from the Sandown. That was a no betting race.
Sandown, 3 o'clock. First number 4, Honky Tonk Highway, 3-1 favourite. Second number 8, Rula Bula, 14-1. And third number 9, Sunset Marquesa, 15-2. Non-runner number 3, 11 round.
So I don't worry about thinking, oh, what could have been? I could have had that one. We did have the second and third there. But just listen when I say,
Honky Tonk Highway, the 3-1 favourite, lands that listed mare's bumper on her rules debut. Won her only point-to-point start and already made back some of her cost, and has done it really determinedly under Harry Skelton. Saw off Rula Bula, looked a threat, and Sunset Marquesa staying on well from the back of the field. We're heading back to Air next. Race number 4 on their cards, coming up at 3:08. Not too far away. Runners down at the start for
novices and 28
a handicap hurdle. It's over 2 miles. This one. And racing. Let's look at check on the market at Air. In actual fact, 8 runners heading to Post Park. Annonciade is 13-8, 4-1 Dance Thief. Black Gilbert 5-1 along with Ruby Island.